Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm here doing a Q&A today with the four amazing female producers of Porcelain War. We have Camilla Mazzaferro, Olivia Ahneman, Aniela Sidorska, and Paula Dupre-Pessman. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
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 Um, let's just start from the top. Like, how I would love to hear how you all kind of came together to make this incredible film.
So I think maybe backing up a little bit. So I was born in Poland under Russia's oppression during communism. And I'm a political refugee that moved to the United States at 9 years old. So about 10 years ago, cut to all the way to 10 years ago, I discovered Slava and Anya's art, their porcelain figurines. And I think that when you grow up under oppression, there's something subconsciously or consciously that you see in art that is made under oppression, and you see that it wants to be bigger, it wants to be something bigger. So I enlisted the help of my partner, Brendan Bellomo, who's also the co-director on Porcelain War, and we got in touch with Slava and Anya and started working on an animation project together. And then Russia invaded Ukraine. So we reached out to them asking if they were all right, what was happening with them, and that's when they told us they were actually staying behind and they were continuing to make their art as a form of resistance. And we also learned that Slava was a soldier in the Ukrainian Special Forces. So we discussed that this was an incredible opportunity to show what was happening from their perspective. And we enlisted the help of a makeup artist in New Jersey who was taking thousands of pounds of medical aid on her own into Ukraine. And we asked her if she could include a camera at that time, just one. Slava was not a filmmaker. He had never used a professional camera before, so we were not sure what we were going to get back, what we were going to see. But when the footage started coming in, it was just incredible. They're artists. They were really seeing the world and everything they were experiencing through that lens. So when we got it back, I realized also we had another problem. I had never made a documentary before. So I did not know what to do with all of this and contacted my dear friend Joe Barnathan, who's a filmmaker, and he said, I think you have someone that I need you to meet, which is Paula.
Yeah, so we came together. We had a Zoom, and I saw some pictures, a little bit of clips of what they were filming, and met Aniela and knew immediately like this was such an important and unique story that needed to be told. And I knew Camilla and Olivia as well from other work that we've done films together, and they're just incredible women. And I just felt like everybody has amazing talents and skills, and together, everybody just collaborated and brought what it took to tell a story 6,000 miles apart in different languages, in secrecy, trying to keep everyone safe, trying to raise money in secrecy, and everything, the production, everything that we were doing, just really needed all of us, like everyone on this screen, these three amazing women that I had the privilege of working with, just everybody brought so much and cared so much about the integrity of this story and supporting them, supporting Slava and Anya and Andre so that they could tell the story that they wanted to share, that they wanted the world to see about what they wanted to show the beauty of what they were fighting for, the beauty of what they're protecting, and the art and the culture of their country. And that was just really appealing to all of us to try to show the human side of war and really what's so important to save, especially now. Democracy is so fragile in the world. So it's really important that we all don't look away, that we look forward and we pay attention to what's going on. And you know that, Diane, from your incredible work.
Definitely. Um, Olivia, since I'm just looking in my boxes here, do you want to sort of add to this in the sense of like how when you came on and maybe kind of like what your part? I don't know if you all worked together like a relay race or it was more just like divide and conquer. I mean, I'm always part of a producing team, so I know that it really depends on the project, but would love to hear more.
Yeah, so Paul and I have worked together for around 18 years. We worked together on The Cove. And at the time, Camilla and Paul and I were producing together a film called My Sister Live. And I we were I think, doing a screening at the Denver Film Festival, and Camilla was in town from Australia here in Boulder. And Paula and Camilla invited me over to Paula's, and we looked at some of the footage, and it was like 12 minutes of just a string out of footage. And it was the most beautiful documentary footage I had ever seen, like so unique. And there was something about it that you just knew this was a really special story. And so I was in from like the get-go. They said, "Do you want to be part of it?" I was like, "Yes, sign me up." And then I got introduced to Aniela on Zoom. So we all met, and it was great. We absolutely did the divide and conquer. I've worked on producing teams most of my career too, never four of us. And to work with four women was really special, like such a unique opportunity. And everyone just put their heart into this. I think we really felt that we were serving something so much bigger than ourselves and more than just a documentary. I think the intimacy of the footage that Andre and Slava and Anya were capturing back in Ukraine and sending to us through Dropbox, and Camilla's team in Australia being such a big part of the security around that. It just was such an important, just felt like such an important story. And we were really holding these people and what they were choosing to share with us, and such, it just felt like such a unique opportunity as filmmakers. And then the other piece for me was that we never inserted a film crew. Like all the footage came from the participants and our fellow filmmakers, and they were choosing what to film. And without an outside film team, film crew coming in, it just like all the footage was so intimate and so special, and you're truly invited into their lives. So yeah, it's been a fabulous project to be part of.
Camilla, do you want to sort of add into that in the sense of like what you were up to, and you're obviously based in Australia, and so maybe you can start the kind of conversation of just like, I mean, all of you are in different places, so how did all of that work? And I mean, I know something about that too, but I'm just curious how you guys worked through that.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, we knew we had a very sort of complicated production on our hands, and I also saw this beautiful footage and knew that we wanted to be involved, and was so excited to work with this collection of women. And so we knew we had the sort of facilities in Australia to be able to bring the kind of security and infrastructure that the production needed. And we assembled a team of translators and editors in Sydney and set up a secure server with a firewall. And, we took that trust that the participants had placed in us very seriously. And we gave them guarantees that any footage that was sent to us would firstly be safe to protect their lives, but also there was obviously very sensitive footage coming from the front lines, and we knew that we had to stay at least 3 months behind from wherever they were filming for anything that was released. So we came up with quite a sort of complicated post pipeline where everything ran through Sydney, and then we were linked with Brendan and Aniela in LA, and we sort of almost organically built this kind of 24-hour production cycle where they would be filming all day in Ukraine and the footage would arrive in Australia. We would process it, and Brendan would wake up, and somehow, in some superhuman feat, I think he worked double days for almost a year. He would work all day, and Daniela would work all day in LA, and then the Australian team would log on and they'd work all night with them as well. So it really was, although it's interesting what you say, divide and conquer or a relay. I do think we sort of switched between the two, and we came up with our own organic way of doing that. We definitely had the divide and conquer, but then there was this kind of production relay that went around the world, really. And then once we added the Polish animation team, we had an Indian VFX team. We really had this global community who were wrapped around this production. And I think that was one of the most special things for me, is that these Ukrainian artists at the heart of it felt this support from this global team of filmmakers all working together in this really beautiful way.
I think it's also important to add what Camilla was up against in Sydney, on top of everything she just mentioned, is, as I said, what initially we sent one camera into Ukraine. We ended up using almost 15 cameras, I believe, and 500 hours of footage. So to manage all of that, it was just incredible.
Who had the 15 cameras? Just like various, you know, they obviously did, but did they have like multiple, like how did that work?
Yeah, so the participants, so Slava, had his cameras. Andre, our cinematographer, who's an oil painter and also picked up the camera for the first time, had his cameras. And then we had the special forces soldiers who had body cams.
Got it.
And drone. We had the
And
drone camera.
drone, yes.
Right. I mean, this is a good segue. Can you all talk about some of the biggest challenges that you face, not only making the film, but we can talk about that first, but, but also getting the film into, the film premiered at Sundance. It's been a really difficult time for distribution, like putting it in the world, and then spending the last year sort of traveling with the film. The big, we as producers, we all face incredible challenges, but just like a few of those highlights would be really great.
Sure, I get this one a lot because I'm out traveling with the film, and this is, in fact, just now I was having distribution conversations. Um, it's a very challenging time with distribution, especially documentaries like this. But people want to see these films and these stories. People really show up. So we used a lot. We used a lot of film festivals to get the film out. Where audiences were gathering. People were really engaged with the film. We also partnered with Picture House to do a theatrical run in North America and Canada so that we could continue. But we also went to those screenings and we traveled with the film and we talked to people and we engaged a lot. We've been able to give the film to embassies so that it can be seen leading up to the anniversary. We did a bipartisan congressional screening. It'll be screening at The Hague in a couple of weeks. So we just had to get innovative like you do as a producer. We had to try different things. We'll still continue to work on distribution. Our dream is to have this film available to people everywhere in the world, and we're not going to stop until that happens. We're not going to give up on that. But in the interim, we also, people are fighting and people are literally on the front lines tonight. So it's not something you can just put on the back burner and say maybe next year. This film needs to get out. And people, when you're making a film, you know how this is, Diane. You hope that people will want to talk about it and want to share it. Like that is always the dream with the film. And this film, it happens. People want to share it. They really feel connected. They feel it's something they haven't seen before. It really humanizes this issue for people. It humanizes war, and they realize this could be any of us. And they really do want to share it. And so it's just our job to keep finding ways to get it out into the world.
Were there any, other than the sort of logistical issues with workflow and safety and security, were there any other sort of bigger production issues that happened during the filming that were just unusual to solve?
Well, there's a couple complexities. One is, we obviously speak English. Slava and Andre and Anya didn't speak almost any English when we first started this process. And to complicate it even further, a lot of Ukrainians speak only Russian, but they are now wanting to really, really hold on to their native language of Ukrainian. So there's kind of a little bit of a cultural phenomenon happening where there's almost like a mix of languages. So that became something that was complicated. But really, a lot of it was that they would film and they would, film lots and lots of hours of footage. And we really did not know what they were saying until it went through 7 or 8 translators, I think, Camilla, right? We had at some point. And then the translations would come back. We'd look at the footage and we wanted it to be really naturalistic in the way that they're speaking, not just very kind of clinically translated. So we brought on a very special translator and dear friend, Dale, who went through everything and just really made sure that the right intention was in the words and the right meaning, and everything was very, very looked at very closely. So that was a lot of effort to make sure that it was authentic and organic to what they were trying to convey to us.
This film too was made by Zoom. All the meetings between this global team happened through Zoom. And then with the language barrier, we added we had a translator, Katerina, who translated every word. So you take a Zoom call and then you double the time of each one because everything was spoken in two different languages. So that added a layer of sort of time and complication to it as well.
Another challenge that I think we all had was you have to raise money to make a film, and you normally build a deck and you start sending it around, and we couldn't do that. We couldn't send anything out. We couldn't send footage. We couldn't send decks. So we did a lot of Zooms, and video does not play well on Zoom, but we would try to show the clips, and we would say, well, when you see it, it does this. And really, we were just very fortunate that a lot of people trusted us, and they trusted us with the story, and they trusted that we would do a good job. And so we had to do one-on-one meetings. We couldn't send it out where it could get circulated around, and we just had to really raise the funds individually from people. And that was a different challenge. You wouldn't normally do that with a documentary, especially in a short time frame. We had really short time frame to get the film submitted to Sundance on time, and we were also dealing with the animation company and their schedule and fundraising. So all of those things fortunately came together.
Camila, can you talk about the theme, art of resistance, art as resistance? Can you just kind of elaborate on that and, why that was like really important in terms of one of the bigger themes of the film?
Yeah, I think one of the things that is so special about this film is that these are artists who are using their art as their form of resistance and their way of preserving their culture. And I think it speaks universally to anybody under oppression. I think all of us as creative people connected with that. And in some ways, we saw ourselves in their story. And I think that's what drew us to the project, and what we are trying, the message that we are trying to get out is that their art is their resistance, and we need to keep providing a platform for that resistance.
And obviously I just mentioned earlier that the film premiered at Sundance last year. So it's been out for, the last, you've been running around the world with it. Can you talk a little bit about the impact that it's had in terms of like, obviously, talking about the war, but also, having the subjects travel, like just what kind of reception that you've all gotten?
What's been really beautiful, and I just saw it tonight, people are really connected. I think we are not as divided as we might think. People actually are really connected, and the humanity of the story that they showed us in this really intimate way. I think it's just a reminder that, this is, they don't go away to war. It's right outside their door. It came to their home. This could happen anywhere. And that it's just really powerful when you see this film with an audience and how connected they feel to each other. And they realize that this is something that people do need to pay attention to. And it does it in a very unique way, in that it's, we don't have politicians in this film. We don't have archival footage of politicians. This is artists. These are artists. These are regular people who've had to become soldiers to defend their homes, to defend their lifestyles. And I think that the fragility that is going on in the world right now, people feel that. And I think that this story, these people, these artists who've created the story, they really give us hope. They're inspiring and they're hopeful. And I think we all need a dose of that, and to realize that there are really good people around us. I've said to Slava, I don't know if I know people like you. And he said, you do. They're around you. And that's something refreshing that we need right now. We need to see the goodness of people around us. There are good people around, and they just shine the light on that. And it's very inspiring to share their story.
The film was made with such authenticity, in its craft and in the collaborations that you had. Can you talk a little bit about the music and because the music is extraordinary in the film, and I just think this is a great opportunity to tell everyone like how amazing your composers are.
We Slava and Brendan were talking, and Brendan asked him, what music do you like? And he said, well, Andre paints to this band Daka Braka, and they're in Kyiv. So Brendan got the music and he started editing, and we saw the first scene, the opening to Vesna with the animals and the bird sounds, and it was just so incredible. And we were like, what is this music? It's amazing. And it just felt culturally so right. And then we saw another scene, and then the producer brain kicked in and we started talking, and we were panicking because we were like, we have got to find this band because there's nothing like it, nothing. And so we started messaging them and DMing them and all the things that Daniela was doing, trying to track them down. And they weren't getting back to us. And their schedule, like every day, they go to a different city to do outreach for Ukraine and countries. They're just constantly traveling. So we found they were going to be playing at a concert in LA. So Daniela bought tickets, and we were going to hold a sign up and just be like, call us. We need to talk to you. We were prepared. We were going to get them at their concert. And then we got a message, and we jumped on a Zoom with the manager, and she popped on at 6 a.m. just in tears. And she said that there had been shelling all night around her building. And she was just asked us what we were doing. We explained that this is artist's story, that they're artists, and it just feels like they are a character, they're a subject in this film as well. So she said, I'm going to give you all the music, all the stems, you can have released, unreleased music. And when we explained that we had money to license it, she said that we would donate all the money that we gave them to an organization that helps musicians and their families who are fighting. So it all went back, and it was just, and then we did get to meet them, which was amazing. Slav and Anya got to meet them.
And it really did, Diane, you're right. It just became the heartbeat of the film. I mean, rhythmically and just really tonally, just the heartbeat of those people and what they were trying to convey in the story.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And also that's like awesome producing, right? Like, sometimes it's just, they have creative ideas come, and then it's up to a producing team or individual to like figure it out. And you did, and it really makes all the difference. Can you talk about what your overall, each one of you, just what your overall hopes for the film are as you sort of continue on this journey, right? But the film's been out, but like as we know, there's long lives beyond festivals and distribution and award season. So it would be great to just hear from each one of you.
I think my hope for it is that audiences, have an understanding of what it's like to live in war and in a war zone, and everything that we can do to prevent that from happening. I also feel with sort of like this day in politics that the war in Ukraine is not just their war, it's all of ours. It's all of our responsibility, I think, to protect democracy and to protect and help support a country like Ukraine. So that feels like an important. I'd love people to walk away from that film feeling that, and feeling that this is a global issue and we're part of this, and we can't let democratic nations be invaded by oppressive nations.
I think I would say that my hope for this film, in addition to everything that Olivia just said, is that I hope it inspires people to keep creating. These are hard times for many people for many reasons, whether it's here or internationally, globally. And I think that what I see in Anya and Slava, and making that art, continuing to make that art, the message that it sends, that you can't actually destroy us, there's something that's really powerful. And for me growing up, again, during communism, it was film, storytelling, art. I mean, those are things that were so important, and my family really instilled in me, that really kind of keep your existence intact, So I think that that's what I would say, is that I hope people just keep creating and telling more stories. And like Paula said, they're important. People want to see them.
I'll just add a little thing to Aniela. I mean, I completely agree with what they've said. And the thing that I really hope, as well as inspiring creative people to keep creating, but also people who aren't creative, to actually see the importance of artists and see how important that resistance is, and that the Ukrainian culture is just as important to protect as the land itself.
Everything that you've all shared, I feel in my heart completely. And I do think that there's a little bit a sense of what can I do? I don't know how I can help. There's so much going on in the world. I really think that these beautiful people have shown us that there is things we can do. There are things we can do. Everybody, whether they're artists or not, like I've told other filmmakers and they said, oh, the distribution market is so tough. I'm like, we need these stories more than ever. Keep creating, keep leaning into this, keep finding stories that need to be shared, capture them, be a part of them. And beyond even the film world, you know, as far as culture, things that are important to you, your freedoms, your language. You know, art is resistance and it's also resilience. And so that's something we can all continue to contribute to. And around the world, you know, this isn't just a Ukraine story. It's a story about all of us.
Thank you all so much. This has been a really wonderful conversation, and just huge congratulations. It's a beautiful film, and it's so nice to see people connecting with it.
Thank you, Diane.
Thanks, Diane.
Diane.
Thank you.